Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan, and we are coming to you live from the CNN-NEWS18 Federal Bank Primetime Studios. First up, ladies and gentlemen, let's just bring you up to speed on what else is happening before we dive into the big stories on The Right Stand this evening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi embarking on his first foreign trip in his third term, and this is for the big G7 summit, a significant step marking a continuity in his foreign policy. The summit is being held at the luxurious Borgo Egnazia resort in Italy's Apulia region. He was welcomed by the Italian Prime Minister Meloni. PM also met Pope Francis. India has been invited to the G7 summit as an outreach nation, and this is the Prime Minister's first overseas visit since he took oath for a third time. But this is also, India also becomes the most invited outreach nation at the G7 summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself as a leader. So that also symbolizes Bharat's growing stature. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also held bilaterals with world leaders, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, French President Emmanuel Macron, and UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And on the war with Russia, the PM has reiterated that Bharat believes in a human-centric approach and that the way to peace is through dialogue and diplomacy. PM and Emmanuel Macron also discussed ways to further strengthen the partnership, including the areas of defense, nuclear space, education, climate action, digital public infrastructure, critical technologies, connectivity and culture. And his meeting with Rishi Sunak, Prime Minister reaffirmed his commitment to further strengthen Bharat-UK strategic partnership in the third term of the NDA government and reviewed the progress made in the ongoing FTA negotiations. Meanwhile, the Confederation of Indian Industry expects Bharat's GDP to grow at 8% in financial year 25 on the back of boost in agriculture and services sectors and increase in public spending. Among others, the strong public capital expenditure momentum is likely to support both physical and digital infrastructure. CII President Sanjeev Suri has said this. Meanwhile, Moody's ratings on Thursday said Bharat will remain the Asia-Pacific region's fastest growing economy in 2024, sustaining last year's domestically driven momentum. And in a report titled Credit Conditions Asia-Pacific H2 2024 Credit Outlook, Moody's rating said Indonesia, the Philippines and Bharat lead the way in terms of growth in first half of 2024 and should continue to outperform pre-COVID growth numbers on the back of rising exports, local demand and government spending on infrastructure. Meanwhile, the chip-making equipment industry is moving into set up bases of operation in Bharat as the country emerges as a promising alternative to China amid tensions between Beijing and the West. The international chip industry group SEMI will hold its Semicon exhibition in India for the first time in September near New Delhi. The exhibition has been held in the US, Japan, Europe, Taiwan, South Korea, China and the southeast of Asia in the past. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the big story breaking here at the top of this edition of The Right Stand. First up. Well, we start now with some exclusive news that's coming in, courtesy our Group Editor Security Manoj Kumar Gupta, and this is with regards to an outfit whose existence has been marked in Bharat but never confirmed outright. And now sources telling CNN-NEWS18 that the deadly radical group internationally banned in many nations, the Hizb-ut-Tahrir, is spreading its tentacles in our nation after facing ban in the United Kingdom earlier this year in January. Now, we've got exclusive details. CNN-NEWS18 has got inputs that the radical Hizb-ut-Tahrir's footprints in Bharat are only increasing. 6 radicals were arrested recently from Chennai. This UK-banned terror outfit is active. It has been inactive in Chennai, and the arrests are also a cause for concern for agencies. More importantly, this outfit was an active cell. The Hizb-ut-Tahrir had an active cell, and this was busted in Tamil Nadu. The outfit espouses pan-Islam. Social media has been used to push Khilafat or Caliphate. So the rule of Sharia and the establishment of a Caliphate in Bharat, that's their underlying motive. They were recruiting to push Caliphate in Bharat, and they were using social media platforms to do so. The crackdown is also against this radical outfit, and it took place in Chennai in May. 6 members of this international Islamist outfit were arrested on the 25th of May. The arrests were in a joint operation by the Chennai police and intel officials. 50-year-old man, his 2 sons were arrested. 3 others aged between 26 and 33 were also arrested. A former engineering professor, Professor Hamid Hussain, was arrested. He is a professor with the Anna University, we are given to understand. Hussain's father, Ahmad Mansoor, brother Abdul Rahman, and 3 other associates were also arrested. The charges, as per the NIA source, are anti-national activities, spreading propaganda against the Indian elections and democracy, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, or the UAPA, has been invoked against these individuals. Now let's try and understand what is their modus operandi and their propaganda. They actually translated Zakir Naik's vitriolic preachings into Tamil, sought support for a pan-Islamic rule or a khilafat or a caliphate. Meetings grew in number and influence over time. They argued that elections and democracy are haram or forbidden by Islamic law, argued that divine law is the supreme one. Hussain also posted videos in YouTube advocating Hizb-ut-Tahrir ideology. Hussein's father held private meets to promote the cause. They created an education trust, and behind or under the veil of this education trust, they were running this entire radical racket. The HUT has been banned in several nations, including Bangladesh, Pakistan, and also the United Kingdom. The Hizb-ut-Tahrir had presence in Tamil Nadu for a while, but no one was aware. They were working deeply undercover and very, very covert. This is what intel sources are confirming to CNN-NEWS18. Now, there was a similar model like this that was busted last year in Madhya Pradesh, and this happened in May 2023. So exactly about a year ago, they had busted this big module in Madhya Pradesh, and that's where the ATS had busted this active module. The case was later transferred to the NIA. In November 2023, 17 Hizb-ut-Tahrir members were charge sheeted by the NIA. The HUT model busted in Madhya Pradesh last year, and the accused members were actually clandestinely recruited, and they built up their cadre over a period of time in Madhya Pradesh. The accused were inspired by outfits' radical ideology, and they were pushing to work towards, and they were aimed at creating Sharia-based Islamic nation in Bharat through violent acts. So the NIA said that there were organized training camps, and they added like-minded people to their group. The Hizb-ut-Tahrir module was busted in MP last year, and their modus operandi very clearly, they trained in arms, shooting, commando tactics. They were planning attacks on police personnel. They were targeting individuals of different communities and aimed to threaten Bharat's unity, integrity and sovereignty, and more importantly, derail the democratic process. They intended to spread terror among people, and this lot was busted. About 17 of them. That was quite a big module. Let's try and get you some more details of this entire outfit. It's an international group which finds its base in Lebanon, but with the goal of establishing a caliphate under Islamic law. It was founded in 1953, headquarters in Lebanon, operates in the US, Canada, Australia. It's been banned in UK earlier this year. It's already been banned in Germany, in even Islamic nations like Egypt, Bangladesh and Pakistan. Their symbols have actually been now banned in Austria since May 2021. This is an outfit that celebrated Hamas's attacks on Israel and called the terrorists who raped, murdered and butchered innocents as heroes. It has a history of celebrating attacks against Jews and Israel. So the UK Home Secretary cleverly had said on the Hizb-ut-Tahrir, saying that they are anti-Semitic organization, promotes and encourages terror, praises and celebrates October 7th Hamas attack on Israel. And that was the grounds by which they were banned as an outfit altogether. Their symbols, and even not just the international organization but also the Hizb-ut-Tahrir. Britain was banned in January. That's the details coming up on this Hizb-ut-Tahrir. Now in 2 states, their active modules have been busted. The NIA continues the investigation and we'll continue to track the developments, but they should send the alarm bells ringing at various corridors of what's going on clandestinely in the depths of Bharat, ladies and gentlemen. Now to the crown jewel of our nation. The Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and along with the Union Territory of Ladakh, are the crown jewels and the crown of Bharat, the head of Bharat. Let's try and get you some more details, and this should also worry you. Well, on Wednesday on the Right Stand, we showed you how Pakistan terrorists Pakistan-backed terrorists were shifting their theatre of action from Kashmir to Jammu in a bid to engage the Indian troops in this region, or our troops in this region, and also so that the LAC stranglehold is freed to help the dragon. So that's one of the aspects that we try to highlight, where they're trying to shift the theatre of action while trying to create a certain level of turmoil internally. On Thursday, we showed you how the CCP is bankrolling Pakistan's proxy war and how Pakistan was redirecting CPEC security funds to target Bharat. In this edition, we show you exclusive details of the shocking truth about the Reasi terror attack. Remember, it happened on the day of the swearing in of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now CNN News 18's Mega Exclusive details the thought process behind. Intel sources are confirming to your channel that what was planned was all the 41 on board that bus. They were on target. It was a Pulwama-like attack that they wanted to plan. This time around, it was civilians on the radar, like in 26/11. But more importantly, they had all confirmation that all on board will be Hindus. They will all be Yatris. And it was planned on the swearing in. It was planned on the day Prime Minister Narendra Modi was swearing in. They wanted to orchestrate a Pulwama meets 26/11 kind of an attack, where innocents were on the guns of or on the radar of Pakistani bullets, ladies and gentlemen. This is a big exclusive, the shocking truth about Reasi. Sources telling CNN News 18 that the Hiranagar terrorists were actually lost, and they seem to have been pushed through by Pakistan in haste to try and push a certain level of carnage on the day the Prime Minister was being sworn in and Modi 3.0 was taking shape. There are also suspects or suspicions or worries that there are long hidden tunnels at the LOC and at the IB that are allowing these terrorists to find their way into Indian territory without being identified, located or shot as they are trying to cross over. So they're not crossing over above ground. It's happening perhaps through underground tunnels which have still not been found. And very clearly, it will be the Hindu-dominated regions that will now be the target. This is what Intel sources are confirming to CNN News 18, that Hindu-dominated regions in Jammu and Kashmir will be the target. And on that day, this attack, the Reasi attack, the entire bus, all its passengers were target because they wanted to create a carnage like Pulwama, this time involving civilians like 26/11. But more importantly, very clearly picking one particular community, Hindus. They were on target, they were on the radar. SP Vaid, former DGP Jammu and Kashmir with us, Ahmed Ayaz, political analyst with us, Lieutenant General Satish Dua, former GOC 15 Corps Command of the Indian Army with us, and we also have Lalit Ambardar, Kashmiri activist, in just a bit. Namaste, Jai Hind to everybody, thank you very much. General Satish Dua, let me first ask you, sir, this raises a lot of concerns. If there are long tunnels, if they are moving down to territory beyond outside the Kashmir Valley, and they wanted to give anjam to another Karnama like Pulwama, this time with civilians.
You're right, Anand, that they're trying to shift or bring about a change in their tactics. They're trying to move into areas that were not hitherto active. You may recall that even before the winter set in, before the passes closed in September, we had an encounter in Verinag where we lost 2 officers, including a commanding officer and a DYS, Deputy Superintendent of Police. Again, that was on the north face of Pir Panjal. This Punch Rajouri area that has been activated is on the south face of the same mountain range, Pir Panjal. Reasi is again on the Pir Panjal. The rest of the area that they've activated, that is Katwa or Doda, is on south, that is in the Jammu region. You mentioned something in the passing, and I have said that on another channel today. I think it is also to do with the fact, apart from their wanting to activate this region, because and time it with swearing in of our Prime Minister and the Cabinet, is to give a feeling that all is not well, elections have gone well, but now they want to instill that other side, terrorists led by their handlers, want to instill fear in the minds of the people. But the last point I would like to make here is, it comes along with or simultaneously at the same time when the Prime Minister of Pakistan is visiting China. The Chinese Prime Minister I beg your pardon, China president actually said, what are you doing about the human rights violations in Kashmir? Although that's laughable, but the fact remains, is it also a collusive threat? Is it a collusive thing that is happening between China and
Yes.
Pakistan to take the heat off or to pull something away from Ladakh?
The LAC.
You know,
We,
yes, the
Gee,
LAC. The military has
we did
finite
that in
resource.
detail. So we've been following the
All right.
story very closely, and on Thursday, that is yesterday, we put out the details that this could be a Beijing-backed project where there are funds being released and the garb of security funds to guard CPEC projects, and those funds are perhaps being redirected to do this, and this is being done deliberately to try and force redeployment of troops. And we spoke about this on Wednesday also, that this is being done perhaps to force redeployment of troops from the LAC back into the Jammu region. So there are multiple aspects, but they are also increasingly getting, we won't say desperate, but diabolical, General Dua. That's the question, that they are now saying, we will make sure, because otherwise they say Pakistani bullets are claiming Kashmiri Muslims. So that doesn't augur well. There is a tight security grid in the Kashmir Valley. That does not help them. And Jammu is also open, vast terrain, and you have Amarnath Yatris, Vaishno Devi Yatris, largely Hindu population. It ticks a lot of boxes for the terrorists and their akas.
We have two major events coming up, Anand.
Ji.
In the next couple of months, we are going to have Amarnath Yatra and we are going to have the state elections. So, in fact, I would venture to say that we could expect more of such kind of collusive attacks, more of such attacks to instill fear in the minds of people. In the Kashmir Valley, they are losing support because they, like you rightly said, they are there. The targets, if civilian targets are there, or targets of violence, are all Muslims. But over here, this soft targets targeting one particular community, they don't lose the support base that much. So all in all, I think we are going to expect more of this, and we need to watch this situation and act with concern.
SP Vaidji, your thought before I bring in Lalit Ambardar and Ahmed Ayaz.
Good evening, Anandji. Taking further what General Dua said, I personally think the whole this change of strategy of targeting Jammu is for multiple reasons. And one of the reason is spread of the forces. You know, Jammu is a huge, unlike Kashmir Valley, which is plain. Jammu is all hills, rugged mountains, thick forests, very little connectivity, unlike Kashmir, which is very well connected, difficult terrain, low and mixed population, Hindu and Muslim. Now you have a focus after suffering setback in Kashmir. There, they realized that, in fact, even in Kashmir, if you recall, in 2021, they started the new tactics of targeted killing. Individual, two terrorists will go and target somebody. Even that was J&K police and security forces uncovered all that plan also. But now, after suffering in Kashmir Valley, the setback, they thought Jammu is ideal because you had forces taken away from most of the areas because of peace for last 15-20 years. You had this mixed population where you have shrines like Vaishno Devi, you have Hindu, even earlier also, if you see, there has been Pakistan's focus of targeting temples. We had two attacks on the Raghunath Mandir. We had an attack in Ayodhya. We had an attack in Akshardham. They know this very well, that this communal situation is a fault line of India. And if you attack Hindus, if you attack Hindu shrines, it generates communal tension. And what could be more troublesome for a country like India with a fault line of communal situation than this? So I think, and look at the time, as General Dua was saying, the time of choosing when Pakistan Prime Minister was in China and our Prime Minister was taking oath for the third time. Now, absolutely, your intelligence, what your reporters have told, this is absolutely correct. This was a plan to basically, the intentions were very clear to kill all 45 Yatris there. It would have been a carnage like what we saw in Pulwama, and provoke India at this moment and show them, Prime Minister Modi that they are present and they can do a major incident of their choosing at the time and place.
Not just that. The fact is that at that time Nawaz Sharif was in Beijing. And General Dua makes a point where he says Beijing asked him कि आप कश्मीर में human rights violation का क्या कर रहे हो? So was it just for them to show that we are also doing some hard action?
There is a collision between China and Pakistan. There is no doubt about it. We have absolutely no doubt about it. And in fact, China has been backing it because India getting pinpricks from Pakistan actually helps China, and China doesn't want India to grow the way India is growing and giving it competition. China wants to checkmate India's growth and India's stature, and that's what China is getting through Pakistan done. So I think that was the plan.
But the other aspect is that the ISI backed these entities, these Pakistani jihadis, Lalit Ambardar, have decided that they will also now be far more selective in their target.
Anand, Jammu is not for the first time, or it's not recent development that Jammu is being targeted. In fact, Jammu has been, it's been resurrected in Jammu. Otherwise, the Jammu, like it has been already mentioned, Garuna temple was targeted. Vaishno Devi is been always on their hit list. And these areas of Poonch Rajouri, we have had so many encounters. In fact, Hill Kaka is one of the most notorious operation we have had there. And incidentally, I just want to bring forth when Indian Army wanted to use Indian Air Force against the Pakistani intruders who had actually occupied Hill Kaka area in Jammu region, south of Pir Panjal, in the same area we are talking about. And the then Chief Minister, he did not give them the permission. Farooq Abdullah did not allow them to use the Air Force. Yes, you know, because of obvious reasons, he didn't allow them to use Air Force there. Okay, so Jammu is not only to instigate communal violence. As I said, Jammu has been on the hit list earlier also. There have been carnages in Kishtwar. There have been carnages in Gool. And at one time, people from Hindus from Kishtwar area, they fled. That's the time Ghulam Nabi Azad was the chief minister. They had to flee those areas, and poor people were forced to go back. But yes, village defense committees helped them, save themselves, break themselves, put up a resistance. And now I think the hit list is Jammu. The Jammu Srinagar security grid is very tight. And whenever they are able to breach that security grid, they are killing Hindus there. They are killing non-Kashmiris there. The killing there is there whenever they are able to do it. And in Jammu, in Kashmir, they already achieved to cleanse Kashmir of Hindus. That was the first target of Kashmir, Jahan. They have done that. I think now they are trying to cleanse Jammu of the Hindus, and this is how they are going systematically approaching about it. And the way we have been handling, I'm not a military specialist, but to talk about strategic importance, it has been mentioned. I don't know whether we are actually deploying forces of one sector to another, and we can't be defending one sector at the cost of another. We know this is a very vulnerable area. Hill Kaka, for example, Poonch, Rajouri, Reasi, they're all interconnected through the jungles and mountains. It's a very difficult terrain. I don't think my forces would be so novice or so careless in reducing the security setup in this side. What I think is the command and control. You are controlling whole of Jammu and Kashmir. I think 2-3 things need to be done immediately to control. You can't vanquish jihad. Nowhere in the world jihad conflicts have been vanquished. Be it in Afghanistan, be it in Syria, be it in Nigeria, everywhere. Be it in Philippines. The Abu Sayyaf has been working there for the past 10 years now. They only keep on changing loyalties to Al-Qaeda, to ISI. So in Kashmir also, till there are reforms within Islam, which I see a ray of hope coming from Saudi Arabia, the Prince Salman. Till then, you have to live with this menace. But what you can do is you can contain it. and to contain Kashmir Jihad in Kashmir, in Jammu Kashmir region, and before you have dozens of Kashmir erupting in the rest of India, which are about to do that because we are not handling it properly in Kashmir. Number one, acknowledge the genocide of Kashmiri Hindus and put up a tribunal, put people on trial for killing Hindus. Convey the message that Hindu lives matter. Not one perpetrator of genocide, murder, or mass rapist has been ever prosecuted for having committed inflict these crimes on Hindus. Number two, I separate Jammu from Kashmir. You know, when Jammu is a separate state, you will have a different, entirely separate command and control looking after Jammu region. And then also in Srinagar also, you have to shrink the political space of the Kashmiri mainstream Islamists. Create union territory of Kashmir there for Kashmiri Hindus,
but Lalit
so that you have a
Ambadkar,
demographic border in Kashmir.
What
you
we
don't
are
have
saying,
a demographic border in Kashmir.
The point is, there are some points I agree with, some points I disagree with. Everybody is entitled to their views. But in terms of trying to reduce the mainstream Islamist groups, the mainstream former chief minister was defeated by the people who voted for somebody who's in jail under the Terror Act, and he's been in jail for a while. So that itself is also a concern. That are there elements who are ready to use the democratic process itself to subvert the democratic process and democracy itself?
Just 10 seconds.
Yeah.
What I tell when I call them, they are mainstream Islamists, be Muftis or Abdullah. What they have a competitive Islamism going on in Kashmir. We've got to understand, you rightly put it out. They are subverting India using Indian constitutional system. They speak one language in Delhi, another in Jammu, another in
Correct.
Srinagar.
But when a Rashid engineer bests an Omar Abdullah, then that competition is far more dangerous and diabolical because it's gone beyond just the mainstream. And it's
Anand, national conferences. Lok Sabha MP from Baramulla the last MP from Lok Sabha from Baramulla was Akbar Lone. He had the audacity to raise Pakistan Zindabad slogan live Jammu Kashmir Assembly. And Farooq Kubda, instead of reprimanding him, he rewarded him with a ticket to Parliament. I would not have been shocked if the same Islamist Akbar Lone would have raised Pakistan Zindabad in the Parliament of India. What did we do? Nothing. So I don't consider the one who has won from Baramulla anyway separate from
or different from the lot that who are practicing a certain brand of politics. That's what you're trying to say. But Ahmad Ayaz, what should be the response, and what has been the response so far? It's largely soft peddling. Nobody has openly called this brazen game by the Pakistanis.
Well, 2-3 points, Mr. Anand. One, that 34 years is too long to understand the strategies and then in the pulse of the activities going on in Jammu and Kashmir. I think if we are yet to understand the exact thing that's happening around, I think then possibly we'll never be in a position to control the situation. Because 34 years is not that less period. You see, knowingly that, as I agree with you, that knowingly that there's a tight security grid in Kashmir, and that perhaps is the reason that the terror acts are reduced. There is a reduction in the activities. And then the question arises, well, if we are so in control, we have complete input and we have complete control over the situation, then how does we know that there is a Kashmir is a militant terror infested area, and then there's a route, even if we say that these are crossing through borders and coming from Pakistan, well, we don't deny that. But the point is, are we not able to understand the routes where from these people have come and how are they moving around? And now that since they have moved from Jammu to Srinagar to Jammu, I have not been in a position to understand the situation and to know the movements of the people and how are people moving around. I think it looks to be more serious to me. Why? Because having said that, by the declaration made by the government, the situation is so normalized that there is now a tourist heavy rush in the Kashmir. And I think I'm seeing it for after a number of, I must agree that after 30 years I'm seeing such a huge rush in Kashmir. Why this came up? Just because the government gave the confidence to us, to the people, to the country, that situation in Kashmir is normalized. But the question is, when despite all this, the situations took place like this, what has happened last year in the Verinag,
So why don't you turn around and say, because the situation was normalized, those who didn't want it to be normal got flustered, and they've gotten desperate.
That is what I say. No, Anand, what I say is the same. The question is, again, even if I say the same, but my saying will not help.
No, you're saying will make a difference, sir, because more people need to say more people who have soft pedaled Pakistan's meddling in Bharat's affairs and who stopped counting Pakistani bullets that have claimed innocent lives on Indian territory must start asking for an account for these bullets and turn around and reject any overture or any soft talk with respect to Pakistan. But General Dua, I have limited time. I just want to understand this, sir. How are these people entering? If there is a tight grid at the LOC, are they using tunnels at the IB? Are there underground tunnels and long distance tunnels that they've been able to build? Because those two terrorists who were neutralized in Hiranagar didn't know their bearings. So they had just recently moved inside. They had just recently infiltrated into Bharat. How did they do it?
Anand, at the outset, let me explain the difference. Most of these tunnels, in my experience, are towards the IB. So Hiranagar, that area, is the international border. Tunnels are not normally found along the LOC because we have a very thick deployment grid, anti-infiltration grid along the LOC. That having been said, you are right to say about those down south in Hiranagar, they seem to be lost. They seem to have been pushed, like you said, in a bit of a hurry and without proper planning. But these terrorists in Reasi were actually
part of that Sajid Jatt gang who've been around for a while.
Yes, absolutely. So that we know, this is not only a gang. They've claimed responsibility and they have bided their time. They have waited for an opportune moment to strike where it will have better impact. And like you rightly said, if they had more casualties, I remember reading the reports where so many of the so many of those survivors amongst the in the bus tragedy had said they kept lying down pretending to be dead till the terrorists left that place. So like you rightly said, they wanted to create a much bigger impact. It was a very high profile incident if there had been 40 plus casualties on the day of the swearing in, and like we already have spoken, and the day when Pakistan Prime Minister is visiting China and the discussions are taking place. So this is very well planned with a purpose, and they have succeeded as far as the timing is concerned. Thankfully, the casualties were not that very much, but we need to.
But we need to figure these. We need to weed them out. There are about 25, 26 of them who are still active in Jammu Kashmir, and whether or not they move out of Jammu Kashmir to other parts of the country for doing something far more diabolical is something that we got to wait and watch out for.
10 seconds. Anand, 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Yes, 10 seconds. Exactly 10 seconds, sir.
Number one, till now, even despite having Kashmiri suffered genocide, not single retaliation has happened anywhere in the country. In fact, I think this is not just they wanted to incite communal violence. Number two, to target Hindus, because Hindus had to be evicted from Jammu. Number two is like, where do these terrorists stay? They don't live in jungles. They live in local houses.
They are using the dhokes on the outskirts of some of these villages because of the lay of the land in Jammu and in that region, contrary to how it is in Kashmir. We'll talk about that at length. We've spoken about it through Wednesday and Thursday. I have to wind up. Thank you. Thank you very much to all our panelists. We're going to take a very short break. We continue to track these developments, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, it's a frank, candid chat with Jesai Deepak. As a lawyer, as an author, as a Bharatiya, he comes up and opens up on the inside view as one of the people arguing for one of the petitioners on the NEET issue. So stay with us and listen to his points of view, and then we move into the Niti, Niyat, and of course the future of Bharat. Stay with us.